Let me tell you something that most people don't realize. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. And every day, you're training it whether you know it or not. You're either feeding it discipline or distractions, confidence or doubt, vision or excuses. Mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build brick by brick, decision by decision, moment by moment. And here's the truth: life will test you. It will push you to the edge. It will throw storms your way when you least expect it. But the question isn't whether the storm will come. It's whether you'll stand when it does. And that depends on how you've trained your mind. Mental strength is not something a person is simply born with. It's not a natural talent reserved for a select few. It's not found in genetics, background, or luck. Mental strength is built. It's forged in the small, unseen moments, the decisions you make when no one is watching, the choices you commit to even when they're uncomfortable, and the inner dialogue you repeat until it becomes belief. The strongest minds are not the ones that avoid adversity, but the ones that grow through it, step by step, day by day. The process of building mental strength starts with awareness. You begin to notice how your mind responds to stress, fear, and failure. You catch the excuses before they become habits. You start identifying the ways in which you let emotions override logic, and you learn to pause instead of react. This doesn't happen in one breakthrough moment. It happens through repeated exposure to pressure and a consistent decision to handle it differently each time. It's in the moment you want to quit but take one more step. It's in the instant you're flooded with doubt but choose to act anyway. These are mental reps, no different than lifting weights for physical strength. You don't get stronger by doing what's easy. You get stronger by pushing into the resistance, by leaning into the moments that test your patience, willpower, and endurance. Mental toughness grows when you decide to push through the friction instead of backing away from it. Many people think strength is about never feeling afraid or never making mistakes, but the opposite is true. Building mental strength means accepting discomfort and facing failure without losing your focus or drive. It means showing up when you're tired, staying disciplined when you're unmotivated, and trusting the process even when results aren't immediate. The mentally strong have learned that emotions are temporary, but character is permanent. So they don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Consistency is key in this process. One strong day doesn't build a strong mind, but one strong day repeated 100 times does. Building mental strength is not about doing one big thing, it's about doing the right thing again and again, especially when it's hard. It's about keeping promises to yourself, developing habits that serve your highest goals, and learning to embrace struggle as part of growth, not a sign of weakness. You also begin to develop mental strength when you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop expecting life to hand you comfort or fairness. Instead, you become the kind of person who adapts, who adjusts, who keeps moving forward no matter what. You understand that every setback contains a lesson, and every delay carries an opportunity to refine your approach. Strength comes from accepting what is and using it to become better. Each time you show up with intention, each time you rise after falling, each time you choose discipline over distraction, you're stacking bricks. You're building the foundation of a mind that won't break under pressure, that won't retreat in the face of fear. Every single day your mind is being trained. The only question is, who's doing the training, you or the world? If you're not actively shaping your thoughts, beliefs, and focus, then you're allowing external influences to take over. The news, social media, opinions, fears, negativity, and noise begin to seep in and shape the way you think, respond, and live. This is not always obvious at first. It starts with small moments, scrolling past headlines that trigger worry, listening to someone complain and internalizing their pessimism, repeating a self-limiting belief without even realizing it. Over time, these patterns start forming grooves in your thinking, and before you know it, your mind is running on autopilot, reacting to life instead of directing it. Mental strength comes from intentional conditioning. Just like a professional athlete trains their body to respond under pressure, you must train your mind to stay focused, disciplined, and unshakable. That begins with taking responsibility for what you allow in. You cannot expect to stay strong if you're constantly feeding your mind junk, constant negativity, low-level thinking, drama, and distractions. The mind becomes what it repeatedly consumes. If you're not filtering that input, you're giving away the controls. Training your mind also means confronting your defaults. Most people have mental habits they've developed over years. Overthinking, procrastinating, reacting emotionally, seeking comfort, avoiding failure. These habits don't go away on their own. They need to be challenged, disrupted, and replaced with new mental blueprints. You have to create a system within yourself, a mindset routine that becomes part of who you are. Whether that means reading something, empowering each morning, practicing gratitude, journaling, visualizing your goals, or simply starting the day with clarity instead of chaos, what matters is that you're being deliberate. When you train your mind, you begin to catch yourself in real time. You notice when doubt starts to creep in and you replace it with belief. You sense when distractions pull your focus and you redirect yourself back to what matters. You no longer allow every emotional impulse to dictate your behavior. You create a level of self-awareness and mental discipline that becomes your armor. It doesn't mean you never slip. It means you recover faster, you reset quicker, and you waste less time spiraling. This level of control doesn't come from forcing your mind into submission. It comes from building a relationship with it. You begin to see your thoughts not as facts, but as options. You realize you don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to obey every feeling. You get to choose the mental narrative that serves your growth, your peace, and your vision. That's where the shift happens. When you begin to own your thinking, instead of letting the world shape it for you, you create space to operate at your highest level, not once in a while, but every day. That's what training your mind really means. It's not about perfection, it's about intentional practice. It's about setting the standard for how you think, so that no matter what happens around you, you remain in control. Pressure is not the enemy. It's not the thing that breaks you, it's the thing that reveals you. It exposes where you're strong and where you still need to grow. It's the weight that tests your limits and, more importantly, builds your capacity. Most people try to avoid pressure. They seek comfort, predictability, and ease. But the truth is, the very moments they're running from are the ones that shape them into who they're meant to become. Growth doesn't happen in silence and stillness alone. It happens in the fire, in the moments where you're tested, stretched, and pushed beyond your current identity. When pressure hits, your instinct may be to resist it. That's natural. But resistance doesn't build, strength response does. You can't control every challenge life throws at you, but you can control how you meet it. And when you start using pressure as a tool instead of fearing it as a threat, everything changes. You begin to lean into the discomfort, knowing that on the other side of it is a stronger, wiser, more capable version of yourself. The gym is a perfect metaphor. Muscles don't grow when you lift light weights that feel easy. They grow when you apply resistance, when you push until your body is forced to adapt. The same principle applies to your mind. Pressure forces adaptation. It sharpens focus. It eliminates distractions. When you're under pressure, the unnecessary falls away, and what's essential becomes clear. That clarity is a gift. It teaches you to prioritize, to stay grounded, and to act with purpose. Mentally strong people understand this. They don't wish for fewer problems. They build more resilience. They don't avoid high-stakes situations. They prepare for them. Pressure doesn't scare them because they've trained for it. Every time they've been knocked down, every moment they've failed, they've collected lessons, they've gained armor. Not the kind that blocks emotion or hides vulnerability, but the kind that turns setbacks into fuel and difficulty into discipline. What makes pressure a catalyst instead of a curse is perspective. If you see it as punishment, you'll shrink. If you see it as preparation, you'll rise. The strongest people in the world are not the ones who've had the easiest paths. They're the ones who walked through storms and used them to grow deeper roots. Pressure refines you. It shows you where you were soft and gives you the opportunity to get sharper. It teaches you how to stay calm in chaos and decisive in uncertainty. When pressure hits, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It demands a response. And in that response you choose: crumble or climb, retreat or rise, complain or conquer. The moment itself may be difficult, but what it builds within you is permanent. Every high-pressure moment is a test-off your preparation, of your habits, of your mindset. And if you use it correctly, it becomes not just a test, but a turning point, a marker in time where you went from who you were to who you deface. Mental strength is not about how you feel in the moment. It's about what you choose to do despite how you feel. Discipline over emotion is one of the hardest but most powerful principles you can live by. Most people make decisions based on how they feel. They take action only when they're motivated, only when things feel easy, only when the path is clear. But mental toughness means doing what needs to be done, regardless of the emotional weather. It's about choosing your values and your vision over your moods. When you choose discipline over emotion, you become consistent. You stop depending on external motivation and start relying on internal standards. You create routines, systems, and habits that carry you forward on days when your energy is low or your mood is off. Emotion says, sleep in, skip the workout, don't make that call. Discipline says, get up, show up, do the work anyway. It's not about forcing yourself to be robotic. It's about recognizing that your future is built by the actions you take when it's hard, not just when it's easy. Emotions fluctuate. They're unreliable when used as a compass. One day you're on fire, the next you're drained. If you only move when you're in the right headspace, you'll move slowly. But if you develop the muscle of discipline, you create momentum that's independent of your emotional state. That's what separates those who rise to the top from those who stay stuck in cycles of inconsistency. The top performers, the resilient leaders, the people who live with intention, they've learned how to act their way into feeling rather than wait to feel their way into action. Training your mind to choose discipline over emotion doesn't mean ignoring how you feel. It means acknowledging your feelings without letting them make decisions for you. You can feel tired and still show up. You can feel uncertain and still move forward. You can feel afraid and still take the step. That's the essence of emotional maturity, not denial of feelings, but leadership over them. The more you live by discipline, the more trust you build with yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, even when you didn't feel like it, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, reliable, and in control. That trust compounds. It becomes self-respect. And self-respect is the root of self-confidence. Confidence isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the early mornings, in the quiet effort, in the decisions no one sees. Choosing discipline over emotion also simplifies your life. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop wasting energy deciding whether or not to do the things you've already committed to. You know what your standards are and you follow them. That internal clarity creates freedom. The freedom to grow without the drag of hesitation. The freedom to act in alignment with your highest self, not your temporary feelings. The freedom to move with purpose, no matter what's happening around you or inside you. When you have a mission, a real mission, everything changes. Your perspective shifts. What once felt like an obstacle now feels irrelevant. What used to get under your skin doesn't even register. When you are truly locked in on something bigger than yourself, something meaningful, you stop being reactive to things that don't align with that purpose. You become focused, centered, and selective with your time, energy, and attention. You don't chase arguments, drama, or distractions because you're already chasing something more important, your mission. A mission gives your life direction. It creates a sense of urgency that silences excuses. It becomes your filter, your compass, your anchor. Every decision is weighed against one question. Does this move me closer to what I'm building, who I'm becoming, and the impact I want to leave? If the answer is no, the decision becomes easy. You stop entertaining things that waste your focus. You stop giving energy to opinions that don't matter. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand your path in the first place. With a mission, your standards rise. You no longer tolerate what you once allowed. You start guarding your environment, your habits, your conversations, your inner circle, because you realize how much they influence your ability to execute. You don't have time to explain your vision to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have the bandwidth to carry guilt, over-explain your boundaries, or justify your growth. You're not being cold or detached. You're just being loyal to what matters. You're choosing progress over approval, clarity over confusion, peace over chaos. When you have a mission, discomfort becomes normal. Growth becomes expected. Discipline becomes your baseline. You no longer require motivation to take action. You act because action is who you are. There's a fire inside you that doesn't need external validation to keep burning. You show up every day because you've made a commitment not just to the goal, but to yourself. And when that commitment is real, you don't take it lightly. You understand that every day wasted is a day stolen from the life you could be living. So you protect your time, you protect your energy, you protect your mind. Having a mission also makes your pain meaningful. Setbacks don't derail you, they refine you. Failures don't shake you, they sharpen you. You stop seeing difficulty as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Because when you know what you're fighting for, the fight becomes worth it. The sacrifices, the long nights, the early mornings, the lonely seasons, they're not suffering, they're steps. Steps toward a life of purpose, toward becoming someone who can handle the responsibility that comes with living at a higher level. You also stop trying to control everything and everyone. Your mission becomes so clear that you no longer need everyone to agree with you. You let people think what they want. You let them say what they will. You don't respond to every criticism. You don't defend every decision. You don't need to. The mission speaks for you. The work speaks for you. The results speak for you. You start to realize that most people are too distracted to build anything long-term, and that's exactly why your focus is your advantage. Living with a mission also changes how you see yourself. You no longer define yourself by your past or your current circumstances. You define yourself by the future you're creating. You start identifying with discipline, clarity, and power. Your sense of self is no longer tied to what happens to you, but to how you respond, what you create, and who you choose to become through the process. The mission becomes the mirror through which you see your potential. And when you're that clear on who you are and why you're here, nothing can pull you off track for long. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity in disguise. The mentally strong do not view setbacks as failures, but as stepping stones to their growth. Life is full of challenges, and it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing every hardship as something negative. However, the true test of your mental strength lies in your ability to reframe these challenges and use them to propel yourself forward. Each obstacle, whether big or small, offers valuable lessons. When you adopt the mindset that struggles are part of the process, you start to see the beauty in adversity. The first shift that happens when you change your perspective is that you stop fearing difficulty. Most people try to avoid hardship at all costs. They look for ways around challenges, hoping to avoid the discomfort that comes with them. But the mentally strong embrace difficulty. They understand that growth doesn't happen without it. In fact, it's often the things that challenge you the most that teach you the most. Every failure, every roadblock, every moment of doubt holds a lesson. The key is to seek those lessons rather than lament the inconvenience of the situation. When faced with an obstacle, the mentally strong do not allow themselves to become overwhelmed by the setback. They don't let it define them or derail their progress. Instead, they ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger? This mindset shifts the focus from the problem to the solution. It transforms obstacles into opportunities for personal development. With each challenge they overcome, they build confidence in their ability to handle whatever comes next. They don't just survive difficult situations, they grow because of them. Another important aspect of this mindset is resilience. Life will throw curveballs, and not everything will go as planned. You may encounter unexpected delays, failures, or disappointments. But the mentally strong do not let these setbacks stop them. They find ways to adapt and continue moving forward. Resilience isn't about being immune to failure. It's about getting back up every time you fall. The mentally strong are not those who avoid failure, but those who rise stronger with each fall. Mentally strong people also understand that obstacles often present the best opportunities for innovation and creativity. When the usual way of doing things is blocked, it forces you to think differently, to find new solutions. The toughest times often require the most creative thinking. What seems like a wall might in fact be the catalyst that sparks your most brilliant ideas. The greatest inventions, business ideas, and solutions to problems have come out of necessity and adversity. Lastly, adopting this perspective means that you stop being discouraged by the length of the journey. When you're working towards something significant, there will be setbacks along the way. Success is not an overnight achievement, and the path to reaching your goals will be full of bumps. But mentally strong individuals understand that no journey is without its hurdles. They know that with each setback, they are building something more powerful within themselves. They are becoming the kind of person who can handle anything life throws their way. The obstacles they face only serve to reinforce their belief in their ability to overcome anything.